A person abides by the regulations out of sincerity and devotion, and also in order to attain Allah's pleasure. This is why the promised Messiah, peace be upon him, said that one who obeys at every stage are my favorite or my beloved. Therefore, those who obey the nizam or the system of the community at the lowest to the highest levels do so for the purpose of pleasing Allah. The promise made by Allah to the believers of Khilafat, and the promise in the Holy Quran of the Khilafat which was to remain established amongst the community of believers. We find only one example of this at this time, and that is currently within the Jamaat Ahmadiyya. However, the verse before this verse, known as Ayat Istikhlaf, in which Allah has promised Khilafat, that is, in the verse before this, Allah the Almighty states that وَأَقْسَمُوا بِاللَّهِ جَهَدَ إِيمَانِهِمْ لَإِنْ أَمْرَتَهُمْ لَيَخْرُجُنَّ قُلْ لَا تُقْسِمُوا طَاعَةٌ مَعْرُوفَةٌ إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. And they swear by Allah their strongest oaths, that if you command them, they will surely go forth. Say, swear not. What is required is actual obedience in what is right. Surely Allah is well aware of what you do. So here Allah has referred to the obedience of believers, that how believers demonstrate obedience, because whenever they are provided instructions, they reply Sami'na wa ata'na. They announce that we hear and we obey. Whether the instruction is contrary or in support of our wishes is irrelevant. Our obligation is to obey. So this is the highest level of obedience which should be found within a believer. And Allah the Almighty has stated that if you are truly a believer, then you do not need to take strong oaths. Only obey in accordance to the normal standard in whatever is good. Obey according to the traditions. We do stand up and pledge that whatever maruf decision or good instruction is provided, we would deem it imperative to abide by it. However, when the actual matters comes to hand, we may show reluctance. Thus Allah the Almighty states that a true believer is he who does not merely take oaths. Rather, he obeys in every single circumstance and situation. Here I should clarify, when speaking here and earlier about obedience in good matters and good decisions, that is, maruf decisions, that the Khilafat of Ahmadiyyat never acts or says anything contrary to the commands of Allah. A maruf or good decision means that all matters drawn out by the Sharia will be abided by. If every Ahmadi firmly believes that this sequence of Khilafat is in accordance with Khilafah min Haja Nabuwa, that is, Khilafat on the precepts of prophethood, then we would also have to believe firmly that this Khilafat would never provide any instructions contrary to the Sharia. Then there is the Nizam-e-Jamaat, the system of the community. When it runs according to the system of Khilafat, it will never provide any instructions in contradiction to the Sharia. And if it happens to provide any incorrect instructions, then these errors will be rectified by the Khalifa of the time when the matter comes before the Khalifa. Therefore, when an Ahmadi prays for the strengthening or the consolidation of the Khilafat, he should alongside pray that he himself becomes one who demonstrates the highest standards of obedience, so that he remains attached to the blessings of Khilafat, and so he can remain the favorite of God. And also so that Allah never deprives him of the guidance that he has currently remained firm on. Therefore, sometimes people express a lack of faith or confidence in the nizam or the system of the Jamaat out of vested interests, and they subsequently become deprived of that reward and blessing which Allah the Almighty bestowed upon us after 1400 years. For example, it often happens in the matters of the qaza. Because of certain obligations out of the law, the qaza being a system within the Jamaat which acts as an arbitrator or mediator to settle disputes. When people are asked to give a written statement that they would happily abide by the verdict of the qaza and arbitration system without any complaint whatsoever, and that they now enter this system of the qaza and bring forth the case of their own volition. So when this written statement is demanded, so some desist from doing this. And the reason for this rejection is that they spitefully suspect that a verdict will be made against them, and therefore they decide that we will not provide a written agreement. Such people's intentions are irreverent from the outset. They only aim to take some time, that let us delay the case here for a while. If the decision here is not in our favor, then we will take the case to the courts of the government. And when such people reject the qaza decision and go to the outside courts instead, and then they receive a verdict against them even there, they then attempt to return to the Jamaat system of justice, but the Jamaat does not accept this. Because at the first instance they disobeyed. They did not trust the Jamaat administration. And the result is quite evident that Allah the Almighty says that such people leave the fold of obedience and are those who displease me. When a person becomes displeasing to Allah the Almighty, then even though he may still be an apparent member of the Jamaat, he in reality cannot get any benefit from the beneficence of the Jamaat which Allah the Almighty provides to the members of the Jamaat because of their attachment to it. So although these seem to be petty things, but a person's mistrust and ill thinking leads him to be deprived of Allah's grace and blessings. Therefore, every Ahmadi should strive his utmost to become the favorite of Allah, because in this lies the sustenance of us and our generations. Alongside this, I would like to say to the office bearers of the Jamaat that they can only be called the true representatives of Khilafat when they fulfill the requirements of justice with the fear of Allah in their hearts. If anyone drifts away or stumbles due to the mistreatment of any office holder, then he would be responsible for that, because he has not discharged full justice on the trust upon him. If a person stumbles or drifts away due to that office bearer's mistake, and he does it on purpose, then most certainly he is responsible and he has not fulfilled his trust. So therefore every Ahmadi, whichever position he may be in, that he should understand that in order to fulfill the covenant of Bay'at, the pledge of allegiance, and to keep his faith intact, he would have to stick to truthfulness and piety in every circumstance, so that the purpose of the advent of the promised Messiah, peace be upon him, can be fulfilled. The promised Messiah, peace be upon him, says in one place that I am not satisfied with just large numbers in the community. Hazur says that just a large size of the Jamaat is not a cause of joy. So he continues that the real meaning of a Jamaat is not that people just place their hands upon one another and pledge allegiance. They can only be entitled to be called a Jamaat when they abide by the conditions of the Bay'at, when they truly inculcate a pious reformation within themselves and their life is completely free from sin and filth, when they efface their personal desires and come out of the grip of Satan and immerse themselves in the pleasure of Allah, when they discharge Haqqullah and Haqqul Abad, the rights of Allah and His people, in a complete and perfect manner, and when there is a passionate desire to propagate their religion in them, and when they completely destroy their selfish egos and desires and become devoted to God instead. So he says further that righteous people are those who fear God and efface those things which are against the will of Almighty Allah. They consider the selfish desire, egos, and things of the world insignificant compared to Almighty Allah. May Allah the Almighty grant all of us the ability to lead our lives according to the wishes of the promised Messiah, peace be upon him.
Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر.